Hello YouTube, this is the Lone Pantheist. I'm going to be talking today about ISKCON. I promised a more in-depth video a year ago and have yet to get around to it. Now, this is not going to be, it's not trying to bash ISKCON, it's just trying to show the differences in philosophy to ISKCON as well as the philosophy of most Hindus. Now, it is a Hindu sect, or it claims to be. Um, now, one thing that I'm going to do, and now see, I'm non-religious, but one thing that I tend to do when I debate somebody is I usually get into the religion, perhaps the mythology, whatever, and develop a counter argument based on that, and debate them from that point of view. Okay, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. One of the main differences between ISKCON and most Hindu sects is they proselytize. Now, that is something that most Hindu sects don't do. Now, it could be considered a bad thing, it could be considered a good thing. It all depends on the what we're talking about here. It's all subjective, okay, on how you want to take it in terms of proselytizing. Now, one thing is that they state that Brahman is sort of an attribute to Krishna, that he is the source of Brahman. This is not really upheld in most of the Gitas or the Upanishads unless you kind of sort of take what you read and, put pieces together. But then again, you can do that with just about anything. Now, the problem I have is they often use that, Krishna is the sun and Brahman is the rays of light that emanate from. But to me personally, it would be more so the fact that Brahman is light. Therefore, Brahman is the rays that are emanating from the sun, as well as the sun itself. Therefore, Brahman would be Krishna. Krishna is often considered to be para-Brahman. Therefore, it is Brahman, even in your own philosophical sense. He is still Brahman. Okay. The problem that tends to arise from ISKCON is quite simply the fact that they tend to view Krishna as more of a Christ figure. Now, the thing about it is, the one thing they are true to form about Brahman is that it's impersonal. Therefore, you don't find Hindus worshiping it or it. It is actually the correct terminology. It does have a male version of the word, but when we're talking about the absolute Brahman, we're talking in terms of it. Now, one thing that they tend to disagree with most Hindus on is the fact that you should worship Krishna, the physical being, as regards to Brahman. Now, you don't necessarily worship Brahman, you're supposed to get in touch with Brahman according to most Hindus. They consider this to be a desire to not exist. Well, the thing about it is the fact that Hinduism at its core is all about getting beyond what we perceive to be reality. Okay. It is supposed to be beyond going beyond the order or whatever. To worship Krishna is basically surrendering yourself and not recognizing the fact that you're Brahman just as he is. And that kind of goes against most religions, because that'd be basically saying if God comes down, you're a part of Brahman, God is part of Brahman too. It doesn't matter how dynamic, how paramount, how super powerful he is, he is still just a part of Brahman. I mean, when we technical, almost anything can kill you, so you can't even use that argument against it. But another thing is the fact that where ISKCON can differ is a simple fact of how they approach the divine. It's just the fact that it's more closer to like Islam or Christianity than it would be to actual Hinduism. Another thing is they kind of place too much importance on Krishna. Krishna is a very big figure in Hinduism, but to be honest with you, it would be more so shifted if you're going to worship anything. It would be Hindu god that's so divinely paramount. It'd be Shiva. Okay. Matter of fact, the attribute Shiva is hardly ever mentioned with ISKCON. But most of the attributes themselves are that they describe Krishna is Shiva. Even the source of the weapons that are given to Arjuna and in the Mahabharata. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but the weapons that are given to him are either speculated to be given to him by Brahma or Shiva. Krishna is usually not mentioned in that regard. Krishna is more of a kind of like a mediator. Okay, he gives advice to Arjuna. So that aspect, I mean, you really are you focused on a figure in Hinduism, and you kind of given him a false buildup and a false perception of what Krishna actually is. So that'd be my one big argument right there, as well as the misconception of Brahman. Okay, the desire of a Hindu is not to go to some plane and worship a being for all eternity. The desire of Hinduism is to recognize that you are a piece or a part or are the absolute reality, depending on how you slice it. So, with that in effect, I mean, the Rig Gita goes into various details. It was told to the song of Ribu was told to Ribu by Shiva, and therefore even there, I believe. I mean, I've read most of it, but from what I can remember, Krishna is not really a central figure in the Ribu Gita. The Ribu Gita's sole purpose is to enlighten the reader on Brahman. But like I said before, the sun's the source of the sun rays, but it's all light. The sun itself is not the sole light. Because if it was all light, then you wouldn't have sun rays, because it would just all the light would be concentrated on the sun. Obviously, it's not. The light spreads out, and therefore it's the sun as well as the sun rays. That would be more so Brahman. Brahman would be Krishna, and would be the light that emanates from Krishna. So, in turn, it's not wrong for somebody to say that ISKCON, or to say that they don't believe the way ISKCON does, and still find enlightenment. Because the same thing, in the end, you are Brahman. You are equal once you, according to their beliefs, once you reach that plateau, you are equal to Krishna. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you worship the gods in Hinduism, is to they're the set goal. They're what you want to achieve to be. Now, there's several problems with that. Majority of them in their mythology don't really comprehend Brahman either. I mean, it's a very complex philosophy, and in a way, you kind of have to sort of fuse it with some of the modern science discoveries, scientific theory, particularly string theory, also relative theory, stuff like that, in order to kind of fully grasp how this philosophy could work in the what we'd say would be the real world. This philosophical discovery called Brahman. Okay, so basically the simple point is I just don't understand why you have something against Brahman. I don't understand why you would leave Christianity and just go to Hinduism, to a similar figure as Christ, and worship him, when the whole point of Hinduism itself is to transcend basically beyond the gods. All things end. Everything ends. Everything eventually, in Hinduism, in reality, everything ends. Everything changes. The universe dissolves. In Hinduism, reality itself dissolves. Everything ends. Only Brahman is the one that's left untouched, because it is everything. Another thing is the argument that how is Brahman attributeless? Okay, when he is everything, therefore he's all attributes. Well, it's quite simple. Okay, if your attribute is up and this other being's attribute's down, you have a being that the overall essence of it is the same. Up and down will essentially counterbalance each other. Therefore, the attributes being up and attributes being down fade away. So by being all attributes, you essentially become attributeless by canceling out the attributes. You have a counter attribute to this attribute, and just cancel each other out. Okay, it's kind of like when you have, just polar opposites. They eventually, they balance each other out. They define themselves within the polar opposite, but on the whole, they cancel each other out. You can't have attributes per se if there's nothing else there that has those attributes. You essentially become all the attributes, and therefore they cancel each other out. Okay, if up is down and down is up, left is right, right is left, evil and good are one, then they essentially become nothing, therefore they become attributeless. That is how Brahman is perceived to be attributeless. That is why he's supreme, is the simple fact that he is attributeless. He's all the attributes. Therefore, he is Krishna, and the counter to whatever that would be Krishna. In a way, he is the what is believed and as well as the believer. He is what has been seen as well as the seer. He is the God and he is the creation. Therefore, the attributes cancel each other out. Therefore, Brahman is attributeless. Okay, he is being, he is existence as well as nothingness. And that brings me to another topic on Hinduism being, or India per se, being the first to actually recognize nothingness. Greece did it as well. So I'm not gonna. You got to give it to Greece too. They recognize nothingness as sort of being a property of reality and existence, because essentially you can only have an opposite if you have an opposite to compare it to. So, and that is also shown in their mathematics when they invented zero. So we never, if you have one box, you have one box, but if you take it away, how many boxes you have? Well, we have nothing. Okay, there's zero. They're the first to give a property the absence as well as the presence of something. So yeah, good job. Again, which is was passed on to Muslims and eventually Christians. But Greeks also had philosophies that tackle the differences between existence and nothingness and stuff like that. And many of them come to the same conclusion that in order to have nothingness, you have to have existence. If nothingness is not part of existence, then it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, it can't be real. If it's not real, then there's no such thing as nothingness. Yeah, it's kind of a circular argument, but it can work in a way. So you can kind of see both sides of it. How it can be considered an attribute to existence. But anyway, I just hope I addressed some of the questions that you may have towards me or towards Hinduism and the differences between Hinduism and ISKCON. I also want to hear from Hare Krishnas who are out there on this, their opinions on this video. Please watch the whole video. I know it's going to be a little long. It's going to be about 13 minutes. But please watch the whole video, and I hope you understand that. Of course, I say that now, even though, it's towards the end of the video. Whatever, that's how I do things. Anyway, see you later, YouTube.